I'm the Reverend Lisa Durkee, and I am both pleased and privileged to serve as your chaplain. Before we do anything else this evening, I'd like to ask that we join together for a moment of prayer. Loving and gracious God, we thank you for gathering us here tonight and for keeping us safe through the summer months. Mindful of our comfort while so many struggle today, we pray that you would care for those whose lives have been shaken by the hurricanes in the past week. While family, friends, and strangers work to rebuild their lives and their homes after the devastation of Irma and Harvey, we pray that you would bring comfort to those who have died and who have lost loved ones. We pray that we will be empowered to do all that we can to be agents of mercy and of hope. Fill us with strength, fill us with kindness, fill us with love, and let our deeds be symbols of our love. We pray in the name of all those you've sent, even Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. I said that I want to feast my eyes because I've really loved getting to know some of you over the past couple of weeks of preseason and orientation activities and dorm duty in Mason, and especially today to greet the 26 students I'll get to know in classes this year. To be one among a very fine faculty is also a privilege. It's a pleasure to share in the journey of your education with teachers whom I already know are committed to their vocation and committed to helping you all discern what your own vocation will be someday after Blair. My own career, my own vocation is one that has carried me from corporate marketing to high school teaching, to ministry in a church setting, and now, and I believe finally, to a vocation that's a wonderful mixture of all the ways I know how to be useful. I want to be useful. And I get the funny feeling that this mixture has a unique ability here at Blair to draw on my other avocations. Those things I've loved to be and to do, but from which I've only occasionally earned any money. Music and writing and even playing sports. What a thing to be paid for that. And you may wonder why I'm speaking quite a little bit about me, and particularly when this is your convocation. I'm thrilled to be here with all of you. Much of my career in ministry involved very solitary work. And I love people, if you hadn't figured that out yet. You aren't the only ones who had orientation activities before classes began. I and the group of new faculty you heard introduced this morning spent a week together with several administrative leaders in our community, and I was thrilled to be working with colleagues again. I said as much when we gathered as a full faculty and were asked to call out things that we're grateful for. So I'm grateful for and I'm grateful to my teaching colleagues, in case I don't tell all of you that at some point during this year. And I'm grateful for all of you. You know who you are. One of the things I learned in working in a church setting when I was preparing myself, all by myself, lonely, for occasions when we would gather together, is how important it is to mark special occasions with ritual. And Convocation is one of these occasions, one of these special moments that we want to highlight by getting together. And we didn't have them when I was in high school, public high school here in New Jersey. We all just jumped into the year and somehow struggled doing our own thing, trying to find our own rhythm. There's something, though, something thrilling about hearing the bagpipes, isn't there? For those of you who are returning, doesn't it mean for you, yeah, I'm really back now at Blair? And for all of you new students, wasn't that just wild? So there's something about ceremoniously lifting up the possibilities that come from being part of a community that's created to foster compassion. That's part of why we're here. Here at Blair, we celebrate the uniqueness of our community by gathering together to ritualize the newness of this year and to celebrate our unity in our diversity. It's for this reason that we march with flags that represent countries our students come from. You know who you are, right? You're young people from 24 U.S. states. You are from Australia and the Bahamas, Bermuda and Canada and the Cayman Islands. Look around you. You're from China and Curacao, Finland, Germany, Hong Kong, Jamaica and Japan, Kazakhstan and Malaysia, and Mexico and Nigeria. Seriously, look around you. Look at your neighbors. Look at the friends you haven't met yet, but will. You're from Saudi Arabia and South Africa, South Korea and Spain, Switzerland, Thailand and Turkey and the UK and Venezuela and Vietnam. That's kind of a wow, isn't it? How many of you have ever been with people from so many countries before? I should say, how many of you haven't? Probably a number of us. And we're all here together. It's amazing, really, that today marks this opportunity of a fresh start for each of us. We get to decide in this moment what we want from this year. Some of what we desire may be just what we've enjoyed in other years, but we may want to squeeze out of this opportunity even more to prepare us for the next leg of our journey. For my part, I want to really foster the idea that I'm thrilled today. You know, thrilled? That feeling you get when your heart squeezes up with excitement that's almost fear? What possibilities for learning does this year hold? What possibilities for caring will we explore? We are a community that chooses to come together. So look around. Look around at what Blair is, at who we are. And so I'd like to invite our headmaster, Chris Fortunato, to greet you as well.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Very nice. Before I speak, we're actually going to turn this over as a time-honored tradition at Blair. We bring members of our senior class council to welcome you all today. And I can think of no better students to be able to do this wonderful job than Katie Peacock and Luke Corrado. I'm going to start with Katie.
When I think back to my first memory of Blair, it's not the typical first day experience one might expect. My first Blair memory isn't moving into Lock Hall freshman year in the sticky late August preseason weather. It's not the long and anticipated drive up from Texas and finally arriving to see the greenest grass blanketing the front hill. It's not the sunny smiles from everyone in the community. Actually, my first memory of Blair is dark and dingy, and it took place inside of a flight deck closet when I was 4 years old. While dropping my big brother off at Blair, I locked myself in his closet. Yeah, security had to come. I was there for like 20 minutes, this whole thing. But I was heartbroken that my parents were getting rid of my brother in some strange place in the middle of nowhere where he knew absolutely no one. So naturally, the logical choice was to lock myself up at Blair too. 14 years later, my problem-solving skills have come a long way. But more importantly, I've learned that Blair is not a place where we get locked up. It's a place where we get set loose. So many incredible things will happen for us this year. Our opportunities are innumerable, and our chances of success are high. We have this running joke here at Blair about the bubble, the Blair bubble. And we joke about how we can never escape Blair, how everything to us feels sheltered and protected and tucked away on this little hilltop. But in my experience, the Blair bubble is more than that. It's a security of familiarity, knowing exactly where to sit in the library and being able to look forward to Cookie Monday week after week. It's the connections we form with friends, knowing that Jason Pan and Will Siggety will be seen flying drones, that Willie Kaiser will make your day with his smile, and that Mr. Brigado will try his best to say good morning to you as you walk into Clinton. Blair is a place to learn from each other and learn with each other. And of course, even amidst all the opportunities, Blair will feel too small. When it's a rainy Thursday night and you've been doing A-push test corrections for over an hour. When it's Saturday night and you've already been to the can 3 times and don't know what else to do. When you just miss home a little extra. It's times like this where we have to shake the dust. Pop the Blair bubble, so to speak. My best memories here have happened when I've least expected them to occur. During the times when I've been deep in the rut, Blair has lifted me out. For me, the sophomore slump happened to hold true. I lived in South that year with 14 of my best friends, but there was this one weekend in the spring where almost all the girls left the dorm. It felt super spooky when it was empty, and that eerie feeling was enough to send me wandering around campus alone. When I came around to the turf, I saw Luigi, Brad Siggety, and Tyler playing soccer. We played soccer until it got dark, and then we wandered around campus a little more. Along the way, we saw Brandy, Zainab, Emma Hoke, and Emma Dressler, who were just here for 1 year. And then we ended up on the golf course, and the stars were everywhere. Luckily, Zainab had a speaker, so she started playing music, and it was this whole moment of just dancing with people I hardly even knew. And let me tell you, this was the best moment of my whole sophomore year. It was a group of people that was so random, a moment so accidental, but it formed a memory completely irreplaceable. Blair can be full of moments like this, if you open yourself up to them. Find comfort in the Blair bubble, but don't let routine restrict you. Get out of your dorm. Talk to people you don't know. Talk to people you only sort of know. Talk to teachers and prefects. Linger in the dining hall after meals. Live your best life this year. Thank you.
I know what you're thinking. Believe me, I know what you're thinking. Because I've sat where you sit and wondered the same thing. Year after year after year. For 170 years now, everybody who's listened to Blair's Convocation, student, faculty, and guest, have all thought the same thing. Where the hell did my summer go? Blair will teach you a lot of things. Oddly enough, most of the learning here is done outside of the classroom. One of the most fundamental principles of a Blair education was not taught to me by a teacher or an advisor, but by a fortune cookie from the dining hall. There is no greater wisdom than kindness. The call to be kind to one another is one that echoes throughout Blair's campus. Showing kindness is a conscious choice that you choose to make. I can guarantee that at some point throughout the year, you will face this difficult decision. You will be asked to supply a pencil to that kid who didn't know you had a quiz today. There are two options here. You can lie. Tell him you only brought one pencil, maybe let him know the school store hours, or reach into your backpack, grab the pencil, give it to him, and say, "Here you go, John Benedetto." You can keep it. Being in close proximity to people every day gives you the chance to reach out and make that choice. Sharing your pencil with somebody is definitely an act of kindness that can positively impact someone else. But there's something satisfying about showing kindness to others in more meaningful ways. Definitely strengthen the friendships you already have here, but don't just invest your time with people you already know. Push yourself to branch out and meet new people. Make friends with the kid who looks lonely. If you know somebody is having a bad day, drop what you're doing and spend some time with them. It may not seem like a big deal to you, but I guarantee those little acts of kindness will impact them, and they do remember it. For me, I rely heavily on my friends to uplift my mood. I count on them every day to be there for me, in small crises, like the lack of writing utensil, and larger ones, when life's unpleasant surprises become too much for me to handle on my own. As a Blair student, it is your responsibility to be kind to one another. Seek out opportunities to form bonds with people. Stop watching Netflix and go to the can. Don't let the fear of stepping out of your comfort zone get in the way of you making someone's day a little bit better. Do not waste your time here. It goes by quick. Regret for the things you do can be tempered with time, but regret for the things you do not do is inconsolable. Push yourself. You can do it. You are all amazing and wonderful people. I believe in you. Good luck this year.
Good evening again. Good evening again. As your head of school, it is my pleasure to officially bring the 2017-18 school year to a start at Blair's 170th Convocation. You can spot for that. the start of every school year for each of the more than 500 of us in this room. It offers the wonderful promise of new possibilities and new beginnings. And though our dear old Blair may be turning 170, today Blair is young. And all of us, whether you're a brand new freshman or whether you've been teaching here for more than 40 years, we are young. We are filled with life and light and curiosity and courage, and we are blessed by a wealth of traditions and also an adventurous edge that compels us to try some new things, to be authentically ourselves and to forge our own unique paths. So yes, today, after almost 2 centuries into this school's history, as I walk across our beautiful campus from Clinton and Locke and Inslee to Catherine, Lakeside, and the CIC, and most importantly, as I look at all of you in this room, I say with certainty that we are ready to explore. We're ready to learn and connect and be joyful, and we are today, ever always, young. I see here tonight new and returning faces, and hear voices among us who collectively will bring renewed life into our community and will build on the chorus of all who have come before. It's really exciting to think about all that's yet to come, what we're going to do together this year, what we're going to achieve here high on the hilltop, and well beyond the borders of our campus. And I wonder, as I look at you, I wonder what will become of us or who we will be 9 months from now, when this year comes to a close, whether you're part of the newly minted class of 2021, or you are seniors, the very first class of students admitted under my tenure as Blair's head of school. You've proven us to be very wise in terms of our decisions. 9 months from now, after your last Blair classes, after your last games, after your last performances, after your last petty day has passed, you will become alumni as I hand you your diplomas on the Sharp House lawn. I think about all the friendships all of us will make and deepen from this day forward, and they are friendships, many of which will last an entire lifetime. And building on the support of your families, those friendships, those relationships with your teachers, they'll form the foundation of all that you will achieve here. I want you to know something. I want you to know this. The heart of what you need to succeed at this school is all around you, right now, in the people here in this room tonight. And so I'd like to start this new year by asking each of you to take just a moment, turn to a person next to you, lend them a handshake, fist bump, or a high five, and wish them a great year ahead. The people we let into our lives, the people we surround ourselves with, and the relationships we build with them, more than anything, they're going to help you become the person you want to be and are meant to be. They're going to help you better understand ideas that are not clear. They will help you persevere when you want to give up. And they will celebrate your triumphs and also be a light in dark times. So let's make sure to keep this going every day, all year long. Let's stop just for a moment on the way to practice or class, walking through the dining hall, sitting in a common room. Stop and acknowledge one another. Stop to see one another, to thank or encourage or even simply connect just briefly. This is not just the way it should be at our great school. It's the way it should be, period, everywhere. People deserve to be seen. You deserve to be seen. To have others stand behind you and stand up for you, to be known for who you are and who you're becoming. And we, all of us, as enlightened learners, yes, that's us, that's you, at our best, enlightened learners. Right here at this school, tucked away in a quiet corner of rural northwest New Jersey, because we enjoy the gift of being together in this place, we have an obligation. And that obligation is this: no matter what darkness we see in the world, including the often all too casual and common ways in which some people treat others with indifference, with disrespect, intolerance, or unkindness. We here at Blair need to do better. Better than that. In a dorm room or in a classroom, in a group chat, in a locker room, in the dining hall, on Snapchat, in this theater, at every match or meet that you are part of, we, as enlightened learners, we must be models for how we want people to treat one another, not just on this campus, but in the world. Now, there's no shortage of issues across the globe these days that are causing people to feel anxious and making it difficult for some to find a reason to be hopeful. But I'm lucky, for in this moment, I have not just one reason to be hopeful. I have more than 500 reasons sitting and standing before me in this theater today. I have the privilege of experiencing how hard all of you, as our students, our faculty, and our staff, try every day to be sources of light and learning and to deliver on the promise of your potential. I've seen it on the stage, in the chapel talks, and in the performances that enrich our minds and hearts. I have seen it in the ring of hundreds of hopeful faces, bathed in the warm glow of a November bonfire. In the photos that capture brilliant stories of service in Kenya or Cuba or right here in Blairstown, under desk lamps lit late at night in Timpian or in your dorm rooms, on sun-soaked fields on which our players come together as teams. And many of you know that I am a child of Star Wars fandom, or perhaps maybe fanaticism. So it may be a little surprise to you that I again find myself coming back to themes of light and darkness when I talk to you. And whether you want to call it the Force, or your moral compass, whether you have your very own remote-control BB-8, or frankly, if you neither know nor care what a Wookiee is, the struggle between light and darkness and the questions that emerge from it, like, what will I stand for? Who do I want to be? They actually really matter at your age. They matter at my age. They matter at every age. They may be confusing, and they may be vexing, but they are relevant to our lives every day here at Blair, and the very small things that we do, like, do I invite a new student to sit with me at the dining hall table? Do I choose to like or not like some mean-spirited post on Instagram? Will I show up on time for school meeting or formal dinner? These themes and these questions are also relevant to some of the bigger choices that you might face. Will I risk social capital to stand up for a friend? Do I own an error in judgment even when the consequences really hurt? Will I take credit for someone else's work? Will I put the needs of my team before myself? So if you've been in my office, you've seen that I have a small Yoda figure sitting on my desk. It's a gift from a former student here at Blair. And it came with a tiny book of wise Yoda quotes, one of which was this: luminous beings are we. Luminous. Full of light. And I've chosen to fully and completely embrace those words personally, no matter whether they were first uttered by a fictional 900-year-old green puppet from a 1980s science fiction movie. I believe in this idea. I do. That we are all luminous beings. Sources of light, bearers of knowledge and truth, capable of illuminating the world and those around us through the hard work, exploration of ideas, our willingness to be authentic and vulnerable. And that belief makes me hopeful and quite relieved during stressful times. For after all, it's hard to be afraid of the dark when you stand before more than 500 luminous beings. So now I suppose I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Raise your hand if you've ever been afraid of the dark, even as a child. All right. Yeah, it's a pretty universal experience. I was assuredly afraid of the dark as a child, wondering, as kids do, what creatures lurked under the bed or might be in the closet during the night. One night I remember telling my mother I no longer had the confidence I needed in my plug-in Luke Skywalker nightlight, and that I wanted a solid lighting backup plan in the case of a power outage. I was just sort of the kind of kid that I was. I'm looking around at some of the adults in this room, including my wife, and none of them seem to be surprised by that in the slightest. You know, it gets funnier on page 40. I'm just kidding. And so a day later, a bright orange plastic flashlight and an extra set of batteries appeared on my nightstand. And for almost the next 20 years or so, very much without fail, I kept a trusty flashlight by my bed, or more accurately, flashlights, since I tended to lose them or break them, and had to have them replaced far more often than my mom appreciated. Now, when I turned 25, I moved into my own apartment. Lived on my very own for the first time. No parents, no siblings, no roommates. I had just started my first full-time job as a lawyer in Boston. And shortly after I moved in, my mom, who was quite overprotective and a worrier, two traits she was kind enough to include in my DNA, much to the delight of my own children, she called me to run down a very long checklist of things she thought I needed in my apartment. And I remember her at some point saying in this long conversation, "Did you get a flashlight? You haven't lost another flashlight, have you?" You know, there's nothing that makes you feel more like a confident adult than having your mom ask you a question with the same tone of voice that you remember hearing when you got in trouble when you were 6 years old. And I suddenly became indignant. I was 25. I was a mature young professional, 7 years of higher education under my belt, living on my own in a new city. And I responded to my mom with some kind of attitude. "Of course I have a flashlight. Duh. It's right here on the nightstand, right next to me. Turning it on and off as we speak. Can't you hear it?" She apologized, which I thanked her for, and I said, "Please remember, I'm an adult now. You don't need my mom to remind me to go buy a flashlight." So we laughed a bit. I said goodbye, and I put down the phone on the nightstand, right next to the imaginary flashlight I had just lied to my mommy about. All in the name of proving that I was indeed a super mature and responsible adult who didn't need to be told what to do. But I did put buy a flashlight on my to-do list, and I figured I'd get around to it. And wouldn't you know, before I did, about a week or two later, at about 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of a loud bang, followed by a piercing, shrill fire alarm, caught the sight of some sparks in the distance outside my window, and then was surrounded by complete and utter silence and darkness, and no flashlight. And don't you just love it when your overprotective mother turns out to be right? So I spent about 10 minutes stumbling over furniture and fumbling blindly through still unpacked boxes, hoping I might just come across an old flashlight tucked away somewhere. And when I reached into the box, my fingers grasped what I thought, with some excitement, was just that, a flashlight. But instead it turned out to be this. Or at least the 1997 version of this. This is the newer model. And I frankly have too much respect for you to say that this belongs to my son or daughter. But here's the thing. No matter what they show you in the movies, these things don't actually cast a whole lot of light. And so now I'm shuffling around my apartment, only able to see about a couple inches in front of me, when suddenly there's a loud knock at the front door, which I have to admit startles me. And I turn around quickly to head in that direction, took a quick and purposeful step, and proceeded to walk directly into the wall headfirst. Which led to a quick and rather epic nosebleed. Yes. So, I'm now wondering what my unexpected visitor at the front door must have been thinking. I'm going to put this down. Must have been thinking when the door opened and a blue lightsaber poked out ever so slightly, followed by my bloody face. And the fact that the man at the front door happened to be a police officer only made the moment even prouder. I think my downstairs neighbor must have called the police when a down power line had caused the electrical outage, and he happened to knock at the wrong door. So you know when you're a little discombobulated and you're confused and you start babbling. Well, that's what I proceeded to do. I tried to give a quick explanation of what just happened to him. Loud noise, couldn't find the flashlight, should have listened to my mother, found the flashlight, yes, it's mine, but couldn't really see all too well, walked into the wall, bloody nose, and here we are. He nodded a bunch of times, kind of stone-faced and serious. I'm probably sure thinking that I'm a crazy person. And he looked at me and said, "Can I suggest something to you, sir?" "Yes," I replied. "Probably a good idea to go down to the Home Depot and buy yourself an adult flashlight." And for a moment or two, we both just sort of stood there, in the dim halo of a Luke Skywalker lightsaber. We both kind of nodded. And then I looked away and quietly said, yes, officer, I'll do that. Thank you. Feeling in that moment more grown up than ever. So needless to say, I have ever since maintained a real grown-up lightsaber, flashlight, not a lightsaber, well, maybe both, next to my bed. And why do I tell you this silly and rather humbling story? I suppose in its ridiculousness, it's because it holds lessons both metaphorical and practical for me. Starting off with, lying to your mother is just simply bad karma. Everyone faces moments of darkness in life, sometimes literally. But I believe that darkness can always be remedied by the right kind of light. And whether it's a flashlight I can hold in my hand, or luminous beings who stand before me in this place, or being in a place that I call not just my school, but my home, the right kind of light can show us the way forward. And it can remind us that we are not alone. It can illuminate the truth, and it can, in fact, bring out the best in us. In the latter half of the 20th century, two very different yet iconic US presidents, John F. Kennedy in the 60s and Ronald Reagan in the 80s, spoke to the people of this country, including many of your parents and grandparents, and they declared their hopes that despite the darkness that no doubt existed in the world, that the United States should strive to be a shining city upon a hill, a beacon light to guide and inspire others. I was always very taken by that image. Being a beacon light, not one powered by arrogance or presumption, but instead a desire to serve. And I perceive that to be a sacred obligation that comes with positions of leadership, good fortune, and privilege. And it may seem like really lofty and grandiose language, I know it does, but I nonetheless, with humility, believe that this campus, also on a hill, right here, this Blair Academy, I see in us the incredible opportunity and the obligation to ourselves be beacons of light. This is a place where, at our best, students and teachers strive to work hard, explore new things, and act with courage and conviction, even in the face of uncertainty and challenge. This is a place where we get back up and try again when we fall short, where we find joy and fun in the traditions and company of one another, and most importantly, where we strive to treat each other well every day. And I know that what I'm talking about is quite a tall order to ask you on day one, perhaps day one of your entire Blair career. Be a beacon of light when you're perhaps just trying to figure out how to find your Latin class. Do your best in soccer practice, navigate who to sit with in the dining hall, or finish your Common App. I get it. But what I ask you today, it's more about a mindset and a way of being as opposed to something, another thing, just to do. It is not something that you will necessarily achieve right now or on every single day here, but I will nonetheless call upon all people on this campus, at this school, that's 170 years young, to not just simply come, study, and learn, as the motto on our crest calls us to do, but also to enlighten one another, and in turn to become more enlightened. And doing so is going to make you a better student. It's going to make you a better athlete, artist, friend, classmate, colleague, and citizen of this school and the world. This is, in many ways, our age of enlightenment, right here on this campus. More than 500 people of diverse backgrounds and ages and philosophies and geographies and cultures and ideas and ideologies from more than 28 countries. We come together on this campus in thought, in action, and in fellowship. And we are people who aim to look up more than we look down, be builders, not cynics, and endeavor to be kind. You know, that really shouldn't seem very revolutionary in 2017, but in fact it is. But you know, enlightened people such as yourselves, they're often revolutionaries. They dare to inspire others, even in the wake of criticism, and they become the inventors and the entrepreneurs and the leaders and the change agents who stand out, who find real success and make a difference, sometimes with really big, bold choices, but more often with a series of small ones that test us to stay true to who we are. Raz, can you put up the slide, please? We're tested in all different kinds of ways. We face frustrations, we face failures, and we face events that have shaken our faith. 16 years ago on this very day, this country faced one of the darkest moments in its history. Like today, September 11, 2001 was the first day of classes at Blair. And as we are right now, the community came together in this place, first to learn what had happened. There were last no smartphones at the time. And like the rest of the country, and in fact like most of the world, this community came together in solidarity and support and remembrance for the lives lost on that day, and in appreciation for the first responders, the military, and the civilians who rushed to help them in need. Though many of you were not yet born, many of us lived through fear, uncertainty, and loss on that day. Some of us with relatives living in Manhattan or Washington, D.C. I will never forget, and I hope no one forgets, the spirit and courage and light that shone through such a terrible time when people came together, when they were selflessly at their best. Tonight as we speak, about 75 miles from us in Lower Manhattan, these two pillars of light once again will illuminate the night sky from the footprint of the Twin Towers in tribute to all affected by the events of that day. When I see this, I am reminded we must not be afraid of the dark. We must stand up to it. We are luminous beings. Whatever form darkness takes, ignorance or hate, divisiveness, cynicism or apathy, we have the ability and obligation to meet and overcome it with study, with intellectual discourse, with collaboration, friendship, and kindness, because we are luminous beings. We can be brave and relentlessly be sources of light by seeking out things, learning and speaking our truths, and taking good care of one another. Thanks, Russ. So how are we going to do this year and beyond? And I want to encourage you, before I close, to do 3 things this year. The first is this. Find ways to let your own light shine. Pursue and explore the multitude of opportunities and experiences this year that's going to help you discover your talents and your passions, more fully understand who you are and the great things that you'll do in the classroom and beyond. All the while asking yourselves, who and what are the things that I will stand for? And seek the guidance and support of the people around you, like your prefects, your friends, your parents, your coaches, advisors, your housemasters, your headmaster, and more. So you can stay firm to the things that really matter, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching. And we all benefit from this, because when you work to let your own light shine, you empower others to do the same. Second thing, be a lighthouse. Find your lighthouse in other people. What do I mean by that? Well, there are always going to be moments, even in the midst of the success and the fun and the friendship of your experience here, where life's challenges or disappointments might feel difficult and feel lonely. Help others here celebrate the good times, but also help them navigate through the tough ones. And in turn, let others do it for you. Sometimes everyone just needs the guidance and protection of a lighthouse, usually more than one, like a good friend or a mentor, an advisor, a teammate, who can cut through the darkness and cut through the fog that get in our way. This is a place where we help one another, where we have each other's back, and where we listen. So as you leave, think about who can be that person for you, and how you can answer the call when someone needs you to be the same. And finally, shine a spotlight on who and what matters. Let's do our best to cut through the noise, move past the distractions, get over the fears of saying the wrong thing, and focus on the people and ideas that actually really mean something to us. Let us seek truth and authenticity in all that we do. It means, as enlightened learners, there should be no topic that we cannot explore here. No ideas that we cannot talk about or challenge, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's emotional, as long as we do that with respect and good guidance and tact. Let's talk to people here more than we talk about people here. That elevates us all. And let's be sure to be a spotlight on those around us who deserve to be recognized and cherished for who they are and what they do. Now, I've invited a few members of the Senior Class Council to spotlight members of our community at their best. But I'd like to offer one first on my own. And I could not start with a more worthy and humble gentleman than our own Dr. Miller, whom I want to thank and celebrate for his work, his wisdom, and guidance, and with next week's opening of the Society of Skeptics lecture series, his nearly 40 years leading that program. Thank you, Dr. Miller.
I would like to recognize Senora Lang for her unconditional love and support. She's always willing to have lunch with students and work on their conversational Spanish with them. And if she's not doing that, she's driving the bus to Newton for La Conexión every single Wednesday. So I wanted to take a moment to thank you for devoting your time towards making us better students and better leaders in our community. Thank you.
I want to make sure I can see this person when I give him a shout out, but Miss Egan is one of the best people I've ever come across. To have found someone that plays the role of a sister, mom, and friend is a blessing, especially during one of the most challenging years of my life last year. I'll forever be thankful for all the things she does. Miss Egan, you are a true queen in every sense of the word. Thank you, and I love you so much.
There's a man lurking in the shadows of the academy. Despite him being known for his stern looks, his sarcasm, and his really, really hard math tests, much of his work is behind the scenes and mostly taken for granted. Take Armstrong, for instance. Without his tireless work, it would not be in the amazing condition that it is in right now. I want to take this time to honor Mr. Raz, or whom we secretly call Razzle Dazzle, for his invaluable contribution to the community.
I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Naismith because he's a great math teacher. Anyone who's ever graced the seats of his classroom could agree that he just has a way of words that just like stays in your head. He makes math simple, fun, and memorable, and for that I'd like to thank him.
Thank you guys, well done. So you may recall that as I closed last year's convocation ceremony, I announced that I had claimed for us and named a Blair Star. On a registry. I had wanted something that we all could look up to now and down the road when we needed reminders of what it felt like to be known, and just to be seen and be a part of this place and part of our lives together. I know I'm not trying to outdo that we're not buying you a constellation or naming a galaxy, but I did want to offer you something far more practical that you can put on your nightstand for those dark and stormy nights, the occasional power outage. Don't worry, they're rare here. When you're trying to check for mantras under the bed, or perhaps like Katie, when you accidentally get locked in a closet.
It wasn't an accident.
Whenever you're locked in a closet. Sometimes we need a star to guide us, sometimes we need a lighthouse to protect us. Sometimes we need a lightsaber to defend the universe or just to play with. And sometimes we need a regular old flashlight to find our way in the darkness. So I offer this simple gift to each of you. If I can get it out of my jacket pocket. Students, faculty, and staff, as we start the school year together, your very own Blair insignia flashlight. Give the crowd what they want. Listen, before we go, as we depart this theater in a few moments, please take one of these. They're going to be passed out to you by faculty as you leave. And as we conclude tonight's convocation, we're going to go do that outside. We're going to do that outside together as a community for a few moments at the flagpole that's just outside the building, over by Weber Hall. There we're going to honor the anniversary of 9/11, And your classmates, Will Siggety, Alex Roberts, and John Carlson, will lower the American flag for us, and Grace Wilkie will lend her beautiful voice. And when you are asked to do so by Reverend Durkee, please point your beams from your flashlight straight up to the sky. In honor not just of what we lost on that day in our history, but also in honor of hope and light, and as a symbol that we, all of us here at Blair Academy in our 170th year, we're going to strive to be beacons on the hill, beacons of goodness and enlightenment, and that we will endeavor every day to spread the light and that light to all the people we meet and to all the places we go. I wish us all a wonderful school year ahead. Thank you.
I've spent the week with classics teachers, and so I want to tell you that a benediction is speaking well of someone or speaking well for someone. And so I'd like to offer a prayer, because I really do wish the best for you, for all of us this year. May God, who is loving, help us to love this year. May we be the ones who shine light so that others will know light and life and love. And may God bless you and keep you safe from harm. Amen.